Hello and welcome back. Today we're going to be playing Lennon or Potter, which as soon as I reveal this Sudoku grid, you're going to understand why the constructor, Will Power, has actually named it as such. Now, you can see from the thumbnail, I'm clearly Team Potter, and I imagine that's not necessarily going to be popular, given sort of the age group that generally follows this channel. But, yeah, I mean, I'm just, in terms of age group, much closer to the group of people that actually grew up enjoying the Harry Potter films than those that grew up enjoying listening to John Lennon. So I think for me it's a little bit obvious. Let me know in the comments how wrong I am about this. I imagine a few of you will let me know about this for sure. Right, let's take a look at today's puzzle and get on with the rule sets. So, Lennon or Potter by Will Power. And very classic of Will here. We've got, essentially their signature glasses and their style. That's essentially why it's Lennon or Potter. And then, of course, we've got Team L at the top, Team P at the bottom. Fantastic, as always, from Will. Let's take a look at the rule sets. We've got normal Sudoku rules apply. That means place the digits 1 to 9 once each in every row, in every column, and in every 3x3 box. We know that one. We've got the Dutch whisper line. So numbers on the red line are at least 4 apart from their neighbor on the line. So if this is a 2, for example, then the two neighbors here have to be 6, 7, 8, or 9. It has to be 5 or more away. Now, when you look at this, you may be tempted to think, well, nothing wrong with assuming, similar as German whisper lines, that the Dutch whisper line oscillates between high digits, low digits, and high, until you take into account the fact that I can have a 5, and that kind of ruins your day a little bit. Because I can go 9 and 5, that is indeed 4 or more away, and I can go 1. So it's no longer high, low, high. It's going low, high, middle, and then low again. And I could do whatever I want with the rest of it as well. In fact, I can really confuse things and put a 9 in here. So just watch out for 5s on Dutch whisper lines. RENBAN lines, we know what these are. Number on purple lines are each a set of non-repeating consecutive numbers in any order. So this means that there are 4 numbers in here that have to be contiguous. Now, it doesn't matter if I put it, let's say, 2 with a 4 in here, a 3 there, and a 1. That seems continuous, but obviously it doesn't. I can reverse them. As long as this is sort of 4 sets that are continuous, you're good to go. What I can't do is delete that 1 here and add a 7, for example. That is clearly not contiguous anymore. We have killer cages. So numbers in cages sum to the number in the top left corner of the cage, and numbers are duplicated in some cages because the red line can obscure it in some puzzle formats. So yeah, aside from this cage here, that's not true. There's quite a few cages that are not 10, but a lot of these cages are essentially meant to add up to 10 because that's the number given in the top left corner. So if that was a 2, this would have to be an 8 to make sure that these two cells add up to 10. These two cells have to add up to 15, 7, and so on and so forth. Lastly, we have KROPKI dots or KROPKI pairs. Numbers with a black dot between them are in a ratio of 2 to 1, such as this one here. If that was a 2, that could literally be 2 to 1, or it could be a 4. As long as one cell is double the other, you're good to go on black KROPKI dots. One thing that's very clear in the rules is that there are no negative constraints. That could literally be something as follows. No black dot between that 4 and 2 or that 4 and 2. That's absolutely fine under today's rule set. So, well, if you want to reminisce with some music from Mr. John Lennon, or if you just want to go back and watch some of the Christmas specials of Harry Potter, link in the description down below as usual for you to play along with this puzzle. And with that said, I'm going to restart the clock and see how I get on. Right. Box 8, that's a 5. Fairly obvious. You can never have a 5 inside a 10 cage because it would require a second 5 inside that 10 cage. And a pair of 5s are clearly going to be connected orthogonally somehow, so it's never going to work. Now, with this RENBAN, so I'm fairly confident this is 4, 6. Remember, you need 5 digits that are contiguous. And based on that, these have to be 4, 6. Yeah, because it has to be inside a 10 cage, so we know one is low, one is high. These two, however, don't have to be one low and one high, because if it is one low and one high, it would have to be 3, 7 to, again, remain continuous. But it can't be, because obviously the pair that goes with 3, 7 inside a 10 cage is another 3, 7, which is actually this cell here. So whatever these two are, they are the same polarity, either low or high. I'm going to call it purple. And these are the opposite polarity. I'm going to call that orange. We'll figure out what that is for sure later. But this is either 2, 3 or 7, 8. Sorry, and I paused here because I'm looking at the very top. And I'm thinking a 15 cage in 2 cells is always made up of high digits. Even better, where does 5 go in box 2? We know it's not in these 2 cells. We know it's not a 10 cage. We know it's not 15 because if I put a 5 in here, it's coupled with a 10. So 15 can only be 6, 9, or 7, 8. We've already established it's not inside the 10. That's a 5. Again, I'm fairly sure this is 4, 6. 4, 6 is not in here. 4, 6 can't be in there because it would require another 4, 6. 4 definitely is not inside the 15. It's in here. And that would force a 6 with it. Again, continuous. This is going to be 3 or 7 because it's essentially going 4, 5, 6, 7 or 3, 4, 5, 6. We don't know which one it is yet. The presence of a 6, however, tells me that this is 7, 8. Which I'm fairly confident tells me this is 2, 3. Because it's either a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 run on this RENBAN, or, and it isn't, a 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 run, and again, it isn't. So that's 2, 3, that's 7, 8. I don't know how useful colors are, but I am going to stick with it. Usually I find that they're sort of useful, half useful when it comes to RENBAN lines. This clearly has to be a low because there is no 9 and this can't be a 5. So this is a low digit and it's not 4, it's 1, 2, or 3. This is actually now forced. This has to be 1, 9. 7, 8 is gone, 6 is gone. This has to be 1, 9. That's not a 1. That has to be a high digit. As long as it's not a 1, we know that's not a 5. And again, it's not a 5 because of Sudoku. So that's a high digit, and it's not a 6. It's not a 9. It is 6, 7, or 8. You can have a 6 on next to a 2 on a Dutch whisper line. High digit here, and it's not a 9. This is definitely low. Don't know what it is yet, but definitely low. This is 1 or 9. The 7 now can be done. We've got no 1, 6, no 2, 5. This is 3, 4. I'm not going to color it. I'm not going to color the entire grid. Tempting, however, that may be. These are definitely high. Don't know if it's 6, 9, or 7, 8 though. And because that could include a 9, I don't know which one of these could be a 5. So this jury's out on this one for a moment. It feels like it's solvable. Essentially what I'm trying to figure out in here. It feels like it's solvable, but I could spend a lot of time on this, and there's easier things to do. This is 4, 5, 6, just completing column 5, for example. I need this cell here is another 2, 3. So that's 2, 3 done. So essentially in there, I've got 7, 8s, 2 of them, and a 1, 9. Now, what I do know is 7 and 8 cannot be next to one another on a Dutch whisper line. So one of these is 7, 8. The other one is in here. And the logic is mirrored on the right-hand side. We need 2 3s and a 1, 9. And again, can't have both of these be 2, 3. Too close to one another. This is 2, 3. I mean, highly likely, just given the symmetry of this puzzle, that this is 1, 9 with a 5 in the middle. But we're going to have to prove this rather than assume it. Having said that, I'm not entirely sure what the next step is. having a look around and it's not leaping out at me like it normally does. What is this? It's not 4-6, it's not 3-7, it can be 2-8, it can be 1-9. There's too many options. Am I going into box 6? Maybe? Yeah, okay. So box 6, the reason I feel that it is somewhat solvable. So even if that's a 9, this can't be a 5 on a black Kropki dot. So these are definitely not 5s. So that is a low digit. Now, where am I going with this, Sleuth? Have a think before you finish that thought. Can this be a 5? Is the question I'm asking. And I think the answer is no. You see, if this is a 5, well, this is low. This would have to be 1. Above a 5 can only be a 9 if it's not a 1. But then the 10 cage prevents it because I would require another 1 and I've broken Sudoku. So because that can't be a 5 and 5 can't go in a black Kropki dot, because that would mean it's either 2.5 or 10, neither of which work under normal Sudoku rules, then there is a 5 inside the 12 cage, which is interesting because I think it forces the entire cage. Because with 5 inside it, then I need a remainder of 7 in 3 cells, which is forced. This has to be 1, 2, 4, 5. This, therefore, is a 3. Black Kropki dot means that's a 6. A 6 in here means that's 7 or 8. And the only remaining cells I have now is a 9. And that's the entirety of box 6 done. Because that's not a 9, that's not a 5. This is not 7 or 8. Oh, yeah. So this 10 is known. It's not 1, 9. It's not 3, 7, and it's not 4, 6. It is in fact forced with 2, 8. That 3 gives me actually a 4 and a 3. This is not 2, 8. You can see that. So this cell can't be 2, 8. Not 3, 7. Well, better yet, not 3, 7, not 4, 6. This is also 1, 9, and that 9 tells us the order. That's 9, that's 1. And therefore, this is not 1, 9, not 3, 7, not 2, 8, it's 4, 6. That's not a 4. These 3 cells are from 1, 2, and 5, just, the remaining options. Clearly, that is not a 5. That is not an 8 next to the 9. I may as well just finish this. 9 to 8. 8 can't be next to a 5. In fact, this is just forced. It's not 2. It's not 5. It's just a 1. That's a 2. That's the 5. None of these are 5 anymore. That's 1, 2, 4. Still can be a 4 next to an 8. So not necessarily deduced. These 2 cells are 5, 7, just completing row 9. These 3 cells are, well, 5, 6, 7, 8. And there's only definitely 6 and 8 in here. It's not very useful. But the only thing that I can say is this cell is not a 5. That's a 3, that's a 7, that's an 8, that's a 2. That is a 5 now. That is a 7. These now are a little bit more helpful. It's 6, 7, 8. That's not a 7. That's not an 8. That could be any of them. And because that's a 2, that can actually be either 6 or 8. Right, because this is a high digit and it doesn't include a 9, this has to be a low digit. And actually my options include not just the loose 2, 3 that we're discussing, it actually includes the 1 from the 1, 9. This is definitely a high digit, and it's not 6, and it's not 7, 8. It can only be a 9. So it is setting us up for a 1, 5, 9 run. That gives me a 1 in here, not a 1 there. That 7 gave me a 3 in here. These two cells are now known. They are, no, not 6 and 9, 5 and 9. Not resolved yet. Not resolved. This is resolved though. That's a 9. 5 and 6, staring at this cell, that's a 4. Now, no, I still don't know if it's a 5. Well, actually, whatever it is, this is a low digit. Reason I say that is, if it's a 5, it would require a 1 next to it because 9 is not available. If that's a 6, it would require 1 or 2, and 2 is not available. So this is actually forced to be a 1, whether this is 5 or 6. That gives me a 9 here, a 1 there. The 2, 3 is not resolved. This is my second 7, 8. That's box 5 completed. That one requires a high digit, or unfortunately a 5. This is easier. This requires a low digit because it's 7 or 8, and it can't be a 5. 2 and 3 are not available. Unfortunately, no, 4 doesn't work. 4 and 6 can never go together inside this because there's a Dutch whisper line, and obviously it breaks this cell. So this is 1, 9. That isn't a 5. So that's a low digit. That's 1, 2, or 3. That would require 7, 8, or 9. 9 is not available. So 2, 3, 7, 8. 7, 8 pair. Not quite. Not quite again. Can I solve this 11 cage yet? So it's not 2, 9. It can be, essentially, these are high digits because 3, 4, and 5 are all gone. So this is 6, 7, 8, which would go with 3, 4, 5, I'm going to say. And there's nothing resolving any of it. Not great. It does give me a 6, 7, 8, building up towards a triplet. That 7 gives me an 8, which gives me a 7. Again, both the 2 and the 3 can be next to it on the Dutch whisper line. So I feel like the way to make progress is in this box. I just need to think a bit harder about it. Such as, where does 1 go? Yeah, that's a good question, because 1 can't actually go in here, since if that's a 1, that would be a 9, and it's not allowed. So 1 is not in there, or here. It's one of these two cells. Then the 1 gives me a 1 in this cell. This is a 2, 3 pair. There's a second 7, 8 pair in one of these two cells with a 9, which could only be where I am actually. So that's another 7, 8. That's a 2, 3. We still haven't placed 4, 6, or 5 for that matter. You see, that can be a 5. I can have a double 1 around it. Why did I think that could be a 6? 6 is too close to 9. That was resolved ages ago, and I just ignored it. That is a 5. 5 now is in one of these two cells. In fact, because this is low, well, no, it can be high. But 9, 7, and 8, and 6 are all gone. This is 5. That's a 1. This is now... It's not... Look at that 3. It resolved this ages ago, and I just ignored it. This is fully resolved. Yep. And I know what this cell is. It's a 6, and that is a 4. That 6 removes my 6 options from these two cells. They're now a 7, 8 pair, which is lovely. That's not a 5. It wasn't a 5 anyway. So I need up here a 3, 4, and an 8. And that 8, no. And really struggling with scanning today. So I need 2, 3, 4 up here. Okay. With a definite 2. Have I not resolved any of these? It doesn't look like it, does it? Interesting. So not 4, 6, not 3, 7, not 2, 8, because neither can be an 8, and the 2 is in here anyway. So this is forced to be 1, 9. That 1 resolves it. That's a 1. That's a 9. That 9 gives me the 5, the 9. I have a 4, 6 pair, meaning that's not a 4, which also gives me a 2, 3 pair. This is just something I can write in. It's a 5. I need a 4, 6 and a 7, 8. We'll come back to that. Let's just think about what this is. It's not a 1, 2 pair. So if that's a 2, that would be 4. That looks good. If that's a 4, well, again, it's not an 8. It would be 2, and 2 is not available. So that's not a 4. That's a 2, 3 pair. I don't need the corner pencil mark anymore. There's definitely a 4 down. Ooh, hang on. There could be a 4 up here. So ignore that. The other option is a 4, 6. Is it really coming down to this cell to help me figure this out? Yeah, 2, 3. The 3 means that's a 4, which gives me a 7, which gives me an 8, which doesn't help me with my 2 or 3. How am I resolving these? I feel like I'm being a little bit thick now. I have a second 4, 6, which is this cell, plus a 7, which can only be in here. That's a 6. That gives me a 4. That's a 2. That's a 3. That's a 6. That's a 4. 6, 4, 2, 3. Right, we're nearly done here. That's 6 or 8. It is in fact an 8. That's a 6. That's a 7. That's an 8. That is 4, 6. They were resolved ages ago and I just ignored it. That's been kind of the theme for today, is just half solving, half using the clues given. We need a 3 in here, which can only be there. And then if I've not made any mistake, that's a 5 for the finish. That's another lovely willpower puzzle. Go Team Potter. Yeah, a little bit clumsy in terms of the solve, but hopefully it wasn't too frustrating to watch. And, you know, the break-in was obvious, I think, with the 5, the 4, 6, this forcing the 2, 3 in here. How did I get that? Yeah, the 4, 6 with the 5 up there. That was forced. So there was a lot of it that was pretty smooth sailing. I imagine if you had pencil mark checks on, this would have gone a little bit faster. Hope that you guys enjoyed the puzzle. There are many more Dutch Whisper line puzzles on this channel. Take a look at what YouTube will recommend to you next. Bye-bye for now.